Happy Friday. We are back again for round 3 of our E29 Journeys podcast. Big day today. I was able to get 4 coaches in from the area, and right now I am honored to have Mr. Angel Arratia from Eisenhower High School Baseball. And we are also going to thank our sponsors before we get going too far. Of course, as always, Chihuahua Cerveza. If you're out in the Newport area, swing by, get some food, try one of their fine beverages that they have. Again, as always, Adam Schwartz Real Estate for providing us the fine studio that we have here in downtown Riverside. And again, 100% Media. The boys do all of the hard work, the editing, the production, the video cutting, and all of the things that we need to get our podcast off the ground and out to you. So right now, I'd like to introduce my guest today, again, Mr. Angel Arratia from Eisenhower High School. Angel, thanks for joining us.
Oh, definitely. Thank you, Ernie. Thank you for having us over, man. I appreciate it. Just a little bit, a little background about myself real quick. This will be going into my 13th year there at Eisenhower High School, 6th year as a head varsity baseball coach, and, just a dream, that came true and stuff, I know when Coach Polito, who took me in as his assistant coach, he had me start off with at the freshman level. And then I spent a year there, and then the following year he brought me up as his pitching coach. As I was there, I was kind of told myself, I was like, man, I want to be the head coach. That was always my biggest thing, when I got into into my college education and going on and stuff, and trying to find a coaching position. I wanted to be the head coach of a program. And so when I started there at Eisenhower, Polito was a young coach, out of UCR, and just very excited to kind of take over the program from a previous coach, a former coach of mine, Bob Clarendon, and so he was there, and he was like, me and you and stuff, we're gonna be here for a really long time. We're gonna turn this program around. I plan on being here for another 10, 15 years, and I was kind of looking at him like, man, that's not what's part of my vision. My vision was I'm going to be running the show. I'm going to be the head coach, but just being there and stuff with him, and I kind of understood my role, just like in baseball. As you play and stuff, you become a role player, and then you're asked to do certain specific things, and so that's how I kind of looked at my role as his assistant coach, and I accepted it, and I said, I believed in what he was bringing to the program, and I said, what, I could definitely help him out. Mm-hmm. And so I coached with him for, I think it was 2 seasons or so, and then all of a sudden there was one day at a practice, he came over to him and he said, hey, remember that conversation me and you had a while back and stuff where you wanted to be the head coach? And he's like, you remember you wanted to do that? And I was like, yeah. He's like, you know what, I'm gonna let you know right now and stuff, I'm gonna go ahead and take a athletic director position, and so I'm handing the keys over to you. So this is your ride now, man. And I was just like, man, I was just shocked, man. I couldn't believe it, because again, I had accepted my role. I was okay, well, 10 years from now and stuff, I'll be the head coach, and so it actually came sooner than I expected. Mm-hmm. So
that was kind of a unique situation there, where you actually got to work twice for him, as the athletic director, and then before as the head coach. So I'm gonna backpedal you a little bit. Yeah. Now, where did you go to school at?
Okay, so I went to Eisenhower High School. Okay. I played baseball and football there. I want to say my sophomore year, I played for Coach Benedict and Coach Skidmore for a year. They brought me up for a tournament, and I ended up sticking up there. I was a pitcher, so I had a pretty good location, and so I ended up sticking with the varsity team that year. The following year, my junior and senior year, Coach Clarendon, Bob Clarendon, he took over the program, and so I played for him there for 2 years. And then I graduated in 99. I went to Cal State San Bernardino. Mm-hmm. I was part of their summer ball and fall ball program there. And then I actually, my grades started to slip and stuff, and so I got put in academic probation, and priorities just kind of changed at that time. Sure. I was a young person trying to figure out things with education and sports and and the college life, and so my priorities changed, and so I ended up not playing baseball anymore. Mm-hmm. One of the biggest regrets ever. And so I shared that experience with my baseball players, because I got caught up in the whole part about making money and fixing up my car, and and so baseball took a step down. And so I share that experience with my baseball players, and I tell them, I said, hey, money, it's always going to be there. Work, it's always going to be there. But baseball, you're on a timer, and that time is clicking, man. And so you want to ride it as long as possible. You want to be able to play this game, as long as you can. Yeah. And so, because if not, then you kind of live with that always. What if I would have kept going? Would I made it to the minors? Would I gone further than that? Independent ball. Now I kind of live like what I don't know. It's always that what if.
Mm-hmm. So. Well, it's interesting because you mentioned that, and I was going to ask you. I was trying to do the timeline because I played for Tommy way back at Kolb Junior High when he was there, and then I actually coached with Bobby Clarendon. I call him Bobby J. But I coached with him before, and he was actually at Frisbee when I was at Kolb coaching there. So we always joke about that. But when you decided to become a coach, that's one of the questions that I always ask because you're a younger guy. At Cal State San Bernardino, sometimes, guys will try to come back and hang on 1 or 2 more years. Even at the college level, you're always trying to hang on, even at the professional level. When did you decide that you knew you wanted to go back and teach and then even ultimately coach?
Yeah, so I want to say it was probably going into my sophomore year in college, where I started because I had gone in there first as a pre-dental major, mm-hmm. And so I was looking into that field. But then, like I said, I was struggling with science, I was struggling with my academics, and so I was like, maybe this is not the path that I wanted to to take after all and stuff. And so I looked at it into teaching, mm-hmm. and I was like, man, that would still kind of keep me connected to the game I love. I could be able to coach. And so I looked into teaching, and it came very natural to me. Mm-hmm. And so I did that, and I finished my bachelor's degree, and I started teaching at an elementary, mm-hmm. and then that's when I was able to kind of go and start coaching the freshman team. Actually, the way it all started is I just started showing up to the field, and I started just hitting. I would ask Coach Clarendon because he was there. Now he has taken a step down. And became an assistant coach to Coach Polito, and I would just show up and be like, hey, can I help out with the guys and stuff, teach them a couple things I know and stuff that I learned along the way. And so I started doing that, and then they just kind of said, hey, would you want to get paid for this? And mm-hmm. I was like, what do you mean? I was like, yeah, would you want to become one of our head coaches? And I said, yeah, like I'll do it. Like, I love this, mm-hmm. And so they offered me that freshman position, and that's where it kind of all started. Mm-hmm. And so, but yeah, no, definitely.
And now you know how hard to find those coaches are for your
team. It is.
When you got a guy that wants to be there and he's already there for free, it's a gold mine. It's tough because it's even at the varsity level, a lot of times you realize that it's hard to get a lot of help, and then it's even harder to find good help. And it's such a grind because you're already there as a teacher, so it's just an extra couple hours on your day. But for those walk-ons that leave work or have to stay later, and maybe they're making that decision between a couple extra hours pay, coming to do baseball, which they love, but they're not getting anything for it, it's tough. So, I mean, that was probably a really, really good find for them.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't
have to, it wasn't a lot of work for them that way. So going back to when you first started there as an assistant, when you came on there, was there, I know you had the aspirations of being a head coach, but was it one of those situations where they said, this is your team, go ahead and mold it? Or was Polito kind of regimented as far as what he wanted you guys to work on or focus on?
Polito was he was very like scripted and stuff. He had practice plans and stuff like on dial and and everything, and but at the same time he also kind of gave me my flexibility with the pitchers and the catchers. He said, this is your time, and so he kind of let me do my thing and stuff with them. Mm-hmm. But definitely, man, like it was funny, going back into what I mentioned earlier about becoming the head coach and stuff. And he, he kind of told me, he's like, oh, be careful what you wish for. And I was like, what do you mean? I was like, yeah, it's a whole different level, once you become the head coach. Yeah. And I saw that because when I was an assistant coach to him, I was kind of like the players coach and stuff, The players liked me a lot. They felt like they could relate to me a lot. It kind of talked to me almost like a friend in a way. Sure. Right, so I was kind of like the cool coach, mm-hmm. and Polito was the disciplinary, the strict mm-hmm. coach, like the no fun coach, right? And so once I took over the head coaching position, man, I saw everything that kind of comes along with it, mm-hmm. like the money, the fundraising, getting practice plans ready, setting up games and stuff like that, running a summer ball, fall ball. field maintenance, all the behind the things. When I was an assistant coach under Polito, I would just show up to practice and be like, "What we doing today, coach?" And it's like, so it's much easier, man. It was totally different.
Well, it was funny because Bobby always used to call them bobbleheads because your assistants. He goes, "All you got to do is this. That's all your job all day." He goes, "Anybody has a tough question, everybody's head turns to me," and he says, "All you guys got to do is nod your head all day. That's it." But, it is because in some points when you get to be the head coach, you miss the old times where I just, hey, I'm just going to take my hitters over here. I'm going to take my catchers over here, my pitchers, whatever, and do my thing. You just call us when you're ready. And you had your own little squad of 7, 8 guys. But, yeah, it was definitely, for you, it's a little different being on campus because if there's any issues with other teachers, then they can catch you all the time.
Exactly.
But when you're a walk-on and you go into your box and there's a coach so-and-so wants to talk to you or this teacher wants to talk to you, like, this is off the clock for me. It's free. So it is tough when you have that, and it's hard making that transition too because, like I said, you want to just focus and go, hey, my hitters did really well today. Well, now you're the head coach, so everybody has to do well today, or it falls on you.
Exactly.
Is there a side that you feel as a head coach, or even just in coaching in general? Is there a side, offense or defense, that you feel more comfortable with, or you prefer?
Yeah, definitely. I think I feel more comfortable with the defense aspect of it. Whether it's not only pitching and catching, but also with the infielders and outfielders. Positioning them and stuff. And pitching to hitters and setting up the defense for that. And kind of situations like I've been doing this for a while now, where like I could sense. I could just looking over into the other dugout or looking at the third base coach and just kind of seeing body language. Yeah. I could kind of see where there's like, they're setting up for a squeeze play or a bunt play, or I kind of prepare my team for that. I kind of. I see it coming. And so a lot of times and stuff like that, I'll tell my pitcher like, hey, like let's say the first batter gets on, right? We walk them for whatever reason. Like they understand or they know that the very first thing we do is we pick the first base. We want to see if, the guy's going to bunt, if the guy's squaring across and stuff, getting ready to sacrifice the runner over. So we always have our pitchers either step off or pick to first base to kind of see what's going to go on. And so, so I kind of, focus more on the defensive side of it. I have an assistant coach, truly blessed to have him. His name is Coach Cortez. He played at Mount Sac, and he's my more offensive guy. He's in charge of working with my hitters and also the weightlifting program and the conditioning. So that's what he does for me. But he's also an on-campus teacher. He teaches history, and so a big thing with our program is we like recording our players. Whether it's at practice or in games, and so we have his classroom, to be able to kind of watch videos. We upload them to a Google Classroom, and we're able to kind of dissect the videos. We kind of put them in slow motion. We kind of show our players, this is what we're looking for. Look, this is the reason why you missed it and you popped it into the infield. Sure. And so we're big with technology aspect of that.
That's good. Yeah, I would like to ask that question to coaches because a lot of times, your head coaches. Usually they start out as a pitching coach, catching, something like in football. You always hear, oh, this guy was a great safeties coach and now he's going to be a head coach, and what does he know about offense and stuff. So, and I think I've always found with head coaching, and you might agree with me now too, it's not so much the head coach, it's being able to find those good supporting coaches, your assistant coach, your hitting coach, because they're going to have just as much to do with the entire game. And there's no way that in a day-to-day practice you can get to every aspect. You have to be able to focus on one. But, when you find good coaches that you can trust, that helps a lot. Now, the technology, how, again, you're younger. I'm going to guess, 32 maybe?
38.
38?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, yeah. Man. Really good. Good for you. Good genes, clean living. But, you've seen already in the time you've been coaching changes now. The phones, the kids are videotaping everything. The kids are used to seeing video. There's things like Rapsodo at different cages, and there's all kinds of analytics and things like that, to where you go all the way back to like when I was or Bobby, and everything was written down in paper, and maybe we had some video, but it was on the old VHS tapes, and we all had to sit there and fast forward through. You couldn't really edit a whole lot. But how much has that been with your guys? Are they really big into that now, or is that something you really have shown them to be more a part of?
Yeah, I think it's more of us as coaches and stuff, kind of like showing them and stuff, like and showing them and kind of like telling them and pointing out the things that we're looking for, you know, because they don't know exactly what they're looking for, you know, whether it's hitting or whether it was a pitching mechanic or, you know, a catcher's, you know, pop time or whatever. You know, they don't know exactly what the little details, you know, that can kind of help them and, you know, and be more successful. And so, you know, just with the, you know, I go back to, like, you know, with my dad and stuff, when I used to play Little League, you know, way back in 6th grade when I started, and he would tell me, he's like, you know, like, you're doing this or you're not doing that. And I'm like, I am, Dad. Like, you know, I feel it. Like, I know I'm doing it, you know. But what he would tell me was like, oh, you know, you think you are, you feel that you are, but when you're watching from the outside, you know, you see it through a different perspective.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel like, you know, technology kind of has helped us out. You know, because of the same thing as that, you know, a player will be like, I'm doing it, coach. Like, you know, whatever the case might be, you know, my pre-pitch movement or whatever, my stride or, you know, my load, and then they see it on video and they're like, oh, I see. I dropped my hands, you know, when I was swinging. And now I know what you mean.
Yeah, it's tough too, because what I've always found interesting is a lot of times you have kids that maybe are very good students because they're very detail oriented in the classroom, but they can't connect it athletically. And you try to explain to them it's the same thing. You know, the way you go home and study for that math test and you know A, B, C, D, but you don't put that same energy into baseball, football, basketball. You just go out there and try to play. But the more you can be knowledgeable about it, you know, kids, I'm sure a lot of them, like you mentioned, they have no idea what goes on in their swing until you really break it down and they can see it. And like you said, that's just trying to find another way to touch those senses, you know, see, feel, understand, and all those things. So with that being said, all the younger players that you have now, how many of them do you have that maybe do their own video? Do you have kids that practice video each other, you know, hitting? Maybe they work in groups, partners, things like that?
Yes, yeah. You know, this group that I had for these last 4 years, man, has been like my best group, you know, of all time. And it was kind of sad to kind of see their last senior season kind of be cut short. But they're very, you know, like they're recording and stuff like that. They're uploading their videos to field level, you know, sending it to coaches and so they're doing that. They'll send me videos, you know, to my assistant coach and be like, hey, coach, look, this is my swing now. This is what I'm working on. How does it look and stuff, you know, and asking for like kind of feedback and stuff, you know. So this group I had and stuff was really amazing group, you know, just well-rounded, you know, just, you know, great role models, you know, being in the classroom, you know, 3-point or higher students, GPA students, and, you know, just great ball players. They had played together, you know, in Little League, and so they were kind of growing up together and stuff like that. And I was blessed to kind of have them at Eisenhower and stuff. And we were looking forward to kind of just, you know, kicking off season, but we were able to get 1 weekend. Yeah. You know, so that was very frustrating.
So it was about 10 games maybe, or you guys kind of your preseason?
I can't remember exactly, but yeah, it was very limited. Yeah.
I've asked that of a couple coaches, because it kind of feels like everybody was at a different spot depending on, you know, some of them are real heavy in fall ball, some of them are real heavy December, January, and then some of them, you know, just kind of wait until the season starts to start playing games. So as far as in March when that ended, have you guys had a lot of, I mean coaches, have you had a lot of dialogue with your players? I'm sure a lot of them are probably still in your Zoom meetings for classes and things like that. But
we did at the very beginning of it, you know, because we were kind of just going and you know, with the information that they were releasing to us, and so I was kind of keeping them, you know, updated and stuff. But just recently, we haven't got any new information. And so, and as a matter of fact, I'm going to be doing a Zoom meeting with them on Monday to kind of let them know what's the last thing that I've heard, you know, which is for sure there's nothing happening until after July, after the month of July. So looking into August, you know, and I know CIF is supposed to have a meeting July 20th in regards to fall sports, you know, and so then I'm going to share that out with my players, and we're probably going to be looking into doing some kind of like setting up some kind of workouts for them, you know, through Zoom and stuff, and kind of saying like, you know, this is what you guys got to do and stuff, and, you know, maybe kind of having some kind of proof where they're doing it, whether it be like a quick video or, you know, recording, you know, how many push-ups they did, how many sit-ups, lunges, all that kind of stuff, you know, things that they could do kind of like at home. So
it's interesting because we had talked about this before with some other teachers. now that at the high school level, it almost feels as though through something tragic like this, it's actually forced some of our older players, high school, to be a little bit more involved in the online stuff, because a lot of schools are going that route.
Right.
You know, you see a lot of schools like Grand Canyon, University of Phoenix, Cal Baptist that have just exploded through online classes. And so I think this is forcing a lot of people. You're still on that younger end of coaching, but for some of us old guys, you know, having to do Zoom practices, having to do online lessons and things like that, it's really tough.
Yeah.
But for them to become more functional online, I think is going to help them in the future, because a lot of that is going to that, especially now with everything that's going on. I think a lot more of the colleges are going to go that way. I've actually even heard there was I can't remember what district, but there was a couple of players that told me that they'd already gotten the email that their first semester was going to be all online, and that's at the high school level. You know, so baseball, being that it's after January, might not be as affected, but still, it's going to change just for high school. You know, no football games, no basketball games, things that they just mentally need to socialize.
Right, and like you said, you know, last year I graduated from with my master's from GCU, and it was completely online program. You know, it's like a year and a half program. And so, you know, I was telling my players, I was like, this is kind of getting you prepared. It's teaching you those skills. You know, it has to do a lot with responsibility and discipline, you know, because there's not a teacher telling you, hey, you got to do your work at this time. You know, you're kind of like on your own. Yeah. You know, and so a lot of the work is like student based. And so,
Well, it's actually good, too, because a lot of that is when you talk to them now, you know, with the kids that we work with, I try to explain to them, if a normal situation, let's say you get cut from the program, you don't make the tryout, okay, the only thing you've really lost out is someone telling you when to practice, what time to be here, and the games. So when you go home, instead of going to practice, you can go to the gym, you can go to the park, you can find someone else to play catch with, you can do all the same work, you just don't have someone pushing you. So this is just more of a test of your self-discipline rather than your baseball talent, because there's nothing stopping you from trying out again next year. So I think just that aspect of it, you know, the kids that were pretty on top of things in the classroom normally are probably going to be on task online. The kids that struggled when someone was pushing them, they're going to struggle even more. Right. So that's the part I'm really curious to see. And then, you know, just with the keeping themselves in shape, you know, that's the other thing too. And I don't know if you guys have had the discussion, you know, as far as funding, as it is, baseball doesn't get a lot of money.
No, it doesn't.
In general, you know, and I don't know what it's going to look like for those sports that come in the spring as far as money for coaches, stipends for coaches. You know, you figure you've got 3 levels at some schools. You've got umpires, you've got baseballs, you've got travel. You know, how is that going to look?
Yeah, like I said, right now, we still don't know. So we're waiting on that. Hopefully we get more information, you know, after this July 20th meeting. And then, like I said, as we're going on and stuff, I'm going to be relaying that to my players. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, definitely, you know, just looking forward and just, you know, getting, you know, some, like, you know, as I'm thinking about, you know, how this is going to look like, you know, I'm trying to figure out ways where I can kind of, in case we do get released to go back on the field, whether it's like splitting up my team into, you know, for example, one set of the guys will be on one side of the dugout, another group will be on the other side of the dugout. Because baseball is not like other sports. It's not you're not in contact with them. The only time you're really making contact is when you touch the baseball. Right. You know, but other than that and stuff, it's not a physical, you know, contact sport. Yeah. But so I'm trying to kind of just plan ahead. So once we get the green light, you know, at the same time, you know, keep those safety procedures in place. Yeah. You know, but yeah.
Yeah, when it's a little overwhelming when you start just thinking about your practice, and you never think about guys sitting next to each other in the clubhouse, in the locker room, you know, just them pushing and shoving by nature, you know, when they're waiting in the on-deck circle. There's so many different things that, as a coach, you know, we just talked about your responsibilities as a head coach. Now they just added a whole nother set on top of it, you know, and especially because you're an employee of the school district, that's going to be even tougher for you. You know, how are you going to monitor this on a day-to-day basis with your guys, you know, because they're kids. You know, they're not going to see the seriousness all the time of it, you know, and understand that your job's at risk, there's other people's health at risk that you have to deal with. So that's going to be a tough chore for you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. You know, the good thing about, you know, as a coach and stuff, we're like as coaches, we're like a community, so we kind of reach out to each other and kind of just bounce ideas. I know you had Jason last week here from Norte Vista, you know, and so, you know, we talk a lot and stuff. We go back and forth, you know, Coach Valencia at Redlands High School, you know, and, you know, just kind of just reaching out to them and kind of seeing like how they're addressing, you know, certain issues and stuff like that. And we're all good in helping each other out, you know.
Yeah, and that's good, because I think that's what's going to take, because I don't know that, I mean, even now, the scary thing, I think, to everyone is the fact that we're all going through this together. There isn't anybody that says, hey, I've done this before, you know, and that's going back to our parents, to our, you know, grandparents, if they're still alive. Nothing like this has happened before. And now we're having to look at the people that we normally get the answers from, and they're going, I don't know.
Right,
you know?
right.
So it's just a really, really weird time, and especially for sports, you know, I deal more with the younger players now, but, you know, even trying to explain to them, you know, they're hanging on. In our area, the softball league, they shut it down right at the end of March. You know, they kind of left, no, we're not going to go back and forth. We're done. And then I know there's some little leagues that are talking about the end of July, we're going to start going. And, you know, hopefully middle of July, which we're only a couple weeks away, we're going to get the green light. And now it doesn't look like that either. So,
right.
You know, is the summer season going to turn into the fall season? Is it going to keep moving back? So it's just really, really interesting. What are some of the ideas? I'm sure you and your coaches have already talked, but what are some of the ideas that maybe you have for workouts for your guys online, your pitchers, catchers?
Yeah, no, like I said, like, you know, I'll probably have this year, you know, I'm probably going to be more focused with the infielders this year, and probably get back into more of a hitting kind of stuff. You know, I've been working a lot with my daughter. My daughter has a particular hitting coach that she's been working on and stuff, and just the language that he's been using, you know, I feel like, you know, I think a lot of our high school players and stuff like that will kind of catch on to it. So I plan on you know, picking up more of the offensive side this year, you know, and getting back into hitting and infield. And so I'll set up like certain drills and stuff like that I'll have them work on, and then I'll probably have my assistant coach Cortez kind of set up the whole, you know, I mean, it's hard, you can't really say like lift weights at home because not everybody has a you know, some kind of weight system at home, but you know, definitely at least, you know, they could do the running, they could do like whether it was bicycling, you know, jump rope. We're a big jump rope, you know, we like to incorporate jump ropes into our workouts, you know, and just like push-ups, sit-ups, and lunges, and, you know, jumps, and we do like a lot of like quick rapid feet work drills, like ladder drills, you know, and for that and stuff, you don't need to have a ladder with you could just draw it out, you know, with some chalk. You know, you could go to a 99-cent store and buy some chalk and just draw the ladder out. Sure. And so they already kind of know the drill, because we incorporate that every day to our workouts. And so we always incorporate, you know, feet work. And so we're doing that. I have a coach, a young coach. He played a little bit at College of the Desert. He was one of my catchers at Eisenhower, and he's kind of doing my pitchers and catchers, and he kind of has a program that he's kind of written out, or he didn't develop it, but he's kind of, you know, got him from his coach and stuff. And so we're probably going to be incorporating that into their workouts as well.
Okay. So you had a little snapshot of the season, or at least, you know, a few games in. And so now we can kind of, that's in the past, but we can actually go back on it. And so one of the things I was going to ask you, where did you see going forward? Let's say if the season had played out, what was the area of your team that you felt like would probably be the area that you would have to most improve this next year coming up?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like we had, I think we graduated 7 seniors this year, and like I want to say 5 of those seniors were like, you know, like our starting players. Like you know, we have 2 players right now. They're playing at CCC, Christian Community College, and another player he's going to go play in Western Colorado, but he's gonna go play football down there. And I have another player who is gonna be going to Cal Baptist and hoping to walk on, and I'm pretty sure that he's gonna make the team, you know. And so we're definitely taking a big hit this year with you know, losing so many seniors and, you know, valuable players. And so we're gonna be very young next year, you know, very young and stuff. But like I said, you know, the talent's there. You know, it's just like I said, they're just young. We have a lot of freshmen and sophomores. So yeah, but like I said, the good thing about our program is, you know, the kids are willing to work hard. You know, they're willing to, you know, put the extra time that's needed. They're very responsible kids, very very coachable. I think that's always the biggest thing. Like, every time I talk to coaches at the collegiate level, that's always kind of like their first question. It's not really like how fast do they throw, what's their average. It's kind of more like, are they coachable and how are their academics?
Mm-hmm.
That's like always like the first two questions I get from coaches.
Yeah.
And so that I know we don't have any issues and stuff. And that's what makes coaching fun at Eisenhower, because these kids will work for you.
Yeah. So for you, I'm growing up in the area. I know that the geography has changed, and now you've got two, right? It's Carter, Rialto, Eisenhower. Is there another?
Correct.
Okay. So in that, what area do you still draw from? Or anyway, by boundaries, what area do you normally, or what little league or league do you get kids from?
Yeah, the majority of our kids come from Frisbee Park.
Okay.
Yeah, Frisbee Park. But right now, what's been a little bit tough is right now they've been remodeling the park itself.
Right.
So they haven't been really playing games there, and so they've been kind of sharing a field closer to Carter High School.
Okay.
I believe it's called Birdsall Park.
Okay. Yeah.
And so, and I have, like I said, my assistant coach, Coach Nicholas Ponce. He's the player that played at COD.
Mm-hmm.
He helps out at that park. His parents run, run the Frisbee League, the Rialto Eastern League there.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Ponce family is, great family that kind of supports our program. And so, so that kind of also kind of serves as a kind of like a bridge or a connection
Sure.
for me,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of knowing what's coming up, what players to look for, and,
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. And
Yeah, it's different now because I use the word boundaries loosely, but because the kids can kind of go wherever they want, and it's interesting too because I know with different players, we have kids from all over the area. It's not necessarily just Riverside, but when you're going over the schools now, there's some families that look at the high schools the same way people used to look for colleges.
Right.
And you try to explain to them that, again, the baseball in high school as in college, it's not your main priority. And certain schools will have a reputation on campus for being tougher, being, lower this area, higher this area. It's just trying to get them to understand, from my point anyway, wherever you're supposed to go. And make the most of it.
Exactly.
If it's a program that's got a new coach, then go be part of something new. If it's got a coach that's been there for a long time and maybe you've heard some things about the coach, then find out for yourself. It's just a different landscape now with the kids. And so, there's always something different about taking those kids from where your area is and where they're supposed to be. And I always thought that created a different sense of pride, especially, with Eisenhower being the oldest school in Rialto.
Exactly.
I always, because I went there, I always have that favorite side to it. But I just want the kids to go and hey, if this is the school I'm supposed to go to, let's all go together and let's try to make the most of it.
Make the most out of it. Yeah, like you said, you said it perfectly. It's you. It's what you're bringing, to the team and stuff. If you're gonna be noticed by somebody, it could be at any school. Yeah. I had in my coaching experience and stuff, I had players who either were at Eisenhower and then ended up transferring out somewhere else where that player was my starting second baseman or starting third baseman. And they would go transfer to another school and stuff because they were doing better or whatever the case might be, right? And so they ended up becoming bench players. Mm-hmm. And so now where they were actually getting seen or noticed by some colleges at Eisenhower, that opportunity didn't happen anymore wherever the school that they ended up going to, because now they were kind of known. They were on the bench,
right?
Becoming like role players, just coming in off the bench and so forth. So that's happened before.
Yeah, it's tough too, because that's something that again, as baseball, you're using baseball as a tool to teach them things about life. And if you're the coach at Eisenhower and you think he is the second best shortstop, well, that's your job. Your job is to decide who's going to be my starter, who's not. And there's some truth in everything. And as you're not always going to get your first job that you apply for. You're not always going to get the promotion because somebody might have something better to offer than you. So I need to take that and I need to try to work through it and get better and take that opportunity and that criticism constructively. And now you've been in it long enough to see the difference in the way kids are accepting that, and you've had enough experience now that you get those kids that may not want to hear that, and they'll pack their bag and they'll go someplace else.
Exactly. Yeah.
So when you have something like that, how do you maybe an instance where you've maybe had to talk to a player that maybe he was the incumbent shortstop, or maybe he was your starting catcher, and you had another player come in that, which is going to happen now, especially because kids are learning things and getting instruction and training younger, and just progressively getting better sooner.
Right. So yeah, as a head coach, and and that's something I had to learn also and stuff. You have to communicate, and you have to be very clear with them, and like where you see them and where they're at, and so you have to have those serious conversations with those players, but at the same time, kind of letting them know, like, hey, right now and stuff, so and so, player A, is outperforming you. He's doing better, this and that. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you're just going to be on the bench the entire time, because he might, and like in baseball, it happens. You go into slumps. There's injuries that happens, pull hamstrings, whatever. And so your chance can come up again. Or you get pinch hit, and then all of a sudden you hit a laser and stuff. In a very crucial situation, and you got the hot stick, and so you're back in the lineup again. Whether it's at that position or finding a different position.
Yeah, I think that's a hard part too. Just is getting kids to understand that team concept, because you had talked about your a college experience before. If you look, I wonder how many high school kids know how many guys are on a college roster. And you look, and some of them will panic when you're going to keep 18 on a high school roster. They've got 35 over there, and not all of them get on the bus when we travel. Some of them only play at home, and then all of a sudden when you get there, hey, I've got 2 guys, and you might only play on Friday, but this guy's playing on Saturday and Sunday. And so the sooner they learn that, understanding that, hey, there's certain times that this guy's going to be a better fit and a better matchup for the team, and I have to understand to step aside and just be ready to do my role, which I think that selfishness sometimes is really hard for them to understand because of the culture that they have now with travel ball showcases and things like that.
Exactly.
So I don't know if when you guys set up your roster, and it probably fluctuates depending on the numbers in the program, do you have a depth chart, or do you kind of let the kids know where they stand before you go into the season?
Yeah, we do. We actually carry about 16 to 18 players, and then we do set up a depth chart. We sit down together as coaches. We kind of, we draw it up on the board in their locker room and stuff like that. Just like I said, just only the coaches can see it, and we kind of just chart it out. We kind of vote and kind of see what's been going on, and we kind of reevaluate. I want to say every 2 to 3 weeks we go back and go back on the chalkboard and kind of set up a depth chart, and like I said, and it kind of helps me out as a coach to have those conversations with the players, and the players want to know, they want to know where they stand at. They just don't want to just show up and practice, and then they see themselves, they're like, man, I'm not playing.
Right.
And so, and like I said, just having those honest conversations with them, I think that's one of the biggest things as a head coach that I learned.
Yeah.
Just having better communication with the players.
Yeah, and it's hard getting them to understand that it's better for you to be up front. Hey, you just need to get faster, or hey, we need to be a little bit more in control of that glove. You're that close, and then leave it to them to go try to improve it, or let them focus on it a little bit more. And I've explained it to players too. Sometimes coaches just want to see you trying to work on that. Hey, can I get an extra bucket of ground balls? Or hey, you know what? Can I get some running work in that I can do? Show me something that can help get my feet faster. And coach is going to be behind that kid that wants to get better.
Yeah.
As opposed to the guy that goes, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm going to pack my bag and go somewhere else.
Yeah. And like you said, also too, sometimes it's good when you it's good to challenge players. A lot of times, one of the things I also learned as a young coach was there was times where players felt like, oh, this is my spot, like I don't have to work as hard anymore, because I'm the starter. I'm the starting shortstop or the starting second baseman, and there's really nobody behind me, so I got this, so I'm not going to push as hard.
Yeah. And
so now and stuff, with these last recent years and stuff, we got enough guys now, quality guys and stuff, where if you're not willing to work hard, the next guy who's right below you and stuff, might just have a little bit of a weaker arm than you, but he's as good as you are and stuff like that, and can take care of the business for us, and so he could kind of come in and take that spot, if you're not willing to kind of continue and getting better and stuff and improving on your craft.
Yeah.
So
I always tried to break it down to players in numbers, and I said, the coach has got so many spots on that lineup, and I need to know that if I give you 3 at bats, I can trust you to give me 3 quality at bats, as opposed to this guy who, maybe he'll check in, maybe he'll bear down on one, and then maybe he'll mail in the other one. If he's 0 for 2, I know he's not going to pay attention to that third one. If he's 1 for 1, then I know he's locked in on the next 2. But it's about trust, because I'm trusting you to take care of that at bat or that ground ball. You might only get 3 of them, but if you're 50-50 in practice, that's not going to get it done in the game. That's an error, that's a run. So getting them to understand and trying to find ways as a coach to break it down to them more, other than just, hey, I'm in the starting lineup, I'm going to play until the game's over. Well, there's a lot of key points in that 7 innings that are going to change it. So I guess maybe trying to teach them as coaches too is a big way to get them to understand.
Yeah. I'm big on like playing the game right. That's always one of the things that my players always hear me say. Or if you come and watch us play, you always hear me say, play the game the right way. Whether it's running out of that box, you hit a pop up, right field and stuff like that. You got under it, you missed it. I want to see you, get out that box, create that angle and stuff like that, and get into second base as the ball is being caught. Because a lot of times it's high school baseball. Errors do happen. And so I don't tolerate when players don't, they don't run out of the box and stuff, or, they try to showboat, like they already made it to the show, and it's kind of like, I tell them, I was like, you like every day is like an interview day, you're trying to prove yourself. And so if I'm a scout, whether it's a collegiate scout or a professional scout, and I came in there and I kind of sat down because I came to watch a particular player, but for whatever reason you caught my eye and I saw you jogging something out, or just being lazy and stuff, or not drifting to a ball or whatever the case might be, right? Then that's what I got from you. And so I'm walking away with that impression. And so I'd had that happen where we were playing at Yucaipa High School, and there was a scout there, and he was I'm pretty sure he had to go to a different school. And he was there, and he just kind of saw like how we stretched, how we warmed up, how we played catch, and then we did our pregame, and then they left. And that was it. And so what did you do those 30 45 minutes to catch that person's eye? And so I'm big on that.
Well, especially here, everyone knows there's certain pockets in Arizona, Texas, California, Florida, those key states that there's always somebody watching, and it's hard to get kids to understand, because they'll say, oh, well, I've got to go here to be seen, or nobody comes to our games. They don't need to see a lot. They've seen enough to know this is what I want, this isn't what I want, because most of the time it's in the preparation. I can tell a lot by your body language, by your attitude, by just listening to you. And, again, from a 16, 17-year-old mind, it's tough to understand, well, they didn't see me hit. Well, they didn't see anything that told them they needed to hang around for that. But it's something that's big, and one of the things that when I was coaching, we really focused on was the word respect. And I told them that, you can talk all the trash you want, but if you're getting beat down 10-2, they're not going to respect you. It's just talk. If you go out every game and you try to put out the best game that you possibly can, we fielded well, we threw well, we pitched well, we hit well, we just didn't end up on the positive side, it's still a win. Because that other team knows, hey, when we come back on Thursday or we come back on Friday, this isn't going to be another walkthrough. I don't care if they came in 12-0 and you were there 0-12. It's still not going to be us handing over a game, and they're going to respect that fact, because you work just as hard if you're an 0-12 team as you do if you're 12-1. And getting kids to understand that it's more about that process and about that work ethic and just trying to put out that best game that you can, because you can't always control the outcome.
And that's what I hear a lot, from like either former players or coaches, a coach I highly respect, Coach Stout from Yucaipa, he retired a couple years ago and stuff, but he's another role model of mine and stuff. I used to pick his brain a lot, and that was one of the things he always told us about our school. He said, man, you guys are a scrappy team. Like, you guys play us like hard. You don't have that guy that's throwing 92, and they do. They have a guy throwing 90, 91, that Taiwan Walker at the time, and here's my guy and stuff, throwing 75, 78, but it's a 1-0 game. And we're playing them tough and stuff. And so that's one of the things I hear a lot from coaches and stuff, that with our program, we're a scrappy team. We play hard. We play the game the right way. So it's great to hear that.
Yeah, it is, and it's interesting because when Steve was in Madrid, we were talking about that civic pride, of Riverside teams. And he had mentioned that he wants to come back to where all the Riverside teams are playing together. And it's funny because Jason's walking out at the same time. He goes, I want to play them. And I said, well, that's one of the cool things about baseball. Yeah, you can have a guy on the mound throwing 75 against a guy throwing 91, but that's only part of the game. You know, if that ball's put in place, someone's still got to make that play. So the higher division, lower division, that doesn't always mean anything to you. It's just that watching the kids play up because they have that different sense of pride and that different sense of respect, and I think that's hard now because you don't always see the same kids, or the kids might be kind of transient as far as, even though we grew up together, Little League, middle school, I'm going to this school, you're going to that school. So I personally would love to see that league again where you're all playing. When I played, it was one team, one town. There was one Fontana, one Colton, one. So it was harder not to have that because you knew who was going to play in high school with you. You knew which guys were going to be there. With that being said, what league do you know? Had you guys realigned going into next year? Or are you going to be in the same league?
No, from like I said, from my understanding, like we heard that we're going to a conference format, and so, but they were going to base the conference based on our last season and this season. But we didn't really have a season. So I don't know exactly if we're still going to go ahead and proceed with that and, which teams are going to be in which, conference and so forth. So
did they give you kind of an outline of which teams might be?
At first, I did see something. I can't remember it clearly who was in our league, I know Rialto was still there. I can't remember if, I want to say Colton and Fontana. I think we're there in our league, but I can't remember the other schools.
Yeah, that was one of the things too that when Steve and I talked, I said, well, again, with all the thing that's going on financially, that might be the easiest fix. We're going to play all three Rialto schools, Colton, Fontana. That's going to be our bracket. Everything's within 15 minutes, 20 minutes away, all by bus, short bus trips. The drivers can get there, go do their routes, and then come back and pick us up, as opposed to those long trips. And I think, again, too, that would, for me anyway, to watch, I think that would make it more fun. I think there's just too much good baseball in Riverside and San Bernardino County to really feel like it's going to be one-sided.
Yeah.
You've seen enough of all the teams, and that any team can really put up a good fight against some of your so-called bigger Division I teams or Division II teams. So I think that's would help the kids competitive-wise, and I actually think it would help as far as exposure for all of the kids, to do that.
Yeah, no, I'm also a big fan of that. I know every time, because Rialto is still, or was in our league, in the San Andreas League, and so it was always fun, like going, to their place or when they come to our place, because it's that pride, you're playing that city pride, and so and so if we could get Carter in the mix too and stuff, it's, I look forward to those kind of games, and I know my players too, and because it is a small city where they know each other, they played along the way, either together as in a team or against each other, and so it's always fun kind of playing against each other, and it's for that city pride.
Yeah, and I think it's more fun for the parents, for the kids too, and I think that just creates more involvement in the school, which I think the more people you get involved in general, it's good for everybody, and I personally would like to see that too. We talked about the old Twin Counties All-Star game, where you had the Riverside County, San Bernardino County. I don't even know if they still do that. I thought maybe they had it a couple of years back, but it used to be good where they'd had, I think, originally there was maybe like 2 games at Valley, and then they had 1 at RCC, and then the next year it was 2 at RCC and 1. But it was always kind of neat to see that too. I'd like to see that come back.
Yeah, they had it. I took part of it. I was part of it. It was San Bernardino against Riverside County.
Okay.
Yeah, I know they had, I think it was Percival's son pitching and stuff like that. I think it was for the Riverside County and stuff. And it was fun. It was fun seeing the talent from, both areas and stuff go out there and compete, Yeah,
because even in tournaments, I feel like a lot of the schools go out of the area, play Orange County, maybe play out in the desert. Classics and some of those in the winter. The 2 years that I coached, it was Riverside, so we did a Riverside East and West, and it was at UCR. So it was broken up Riverside County. We didn't have San Bernardino included in that, so I wasn't sure when the last time. And I think the only thing that brought it to my mind was I was cleaning out some stuff at my parents' house in storage, and I found one of the old programs from back when they were doing the 2. But it's just I think there's just too much competitive baseball in the area in Riverside and San Bernardino, and just the two counties, that we could really even chop it up into those local areas and then create divisions from there, or create a playoff format from there.
Right.
And then maybe meet with Orange County, or do a San Bernardino
that would
County,
be great.
Riverside, something like that, where you could create more of a camaraderie between the kids, and rooting for guys that move on. Riverside County moved on to play Orange County, and Orange County to play LA County, something like that. But those are just all ideas. There's going to be a lot of ideas coming up in the next couple months.
Exactly.
So right now, are you you did online to end the school year, and then I'm jumping back and forth a little bit.
No, that's fine.
When you were doing that, how comfortable were you, being that you just finished your master's with that? Was it hard getting the kids into it, or did you feel like it was an easy transition?
Yeah, like I said, I was truly blessed that, going through that recent experience with GCU and having to do my online program. I think it kind of, it prepared me for this moment that, I didn't know was going to happen, And so I feel very comfortable using the platform, and kind of, being able to kind of just, tap in, and I could do I could break into different rooms and stuff. And like, for example, what I could do is I could have like a breakout session where my pitchers and catchers go, and they could talk to one of my assistant coaches, while my outfielders can go and to a different room, but we're still on the same platform.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I think just, going through that experience at GCU kind of helped me out, in the technology-based aspect of it.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how coaches adapt, because there comes a point where, either if you haven't really been doing a lot of work as a high school player, okay, maybe take that as a break. But as we get closer to what the normal school year would be, I kind of need to get on track, if for no other reason, just mentally. The hardest thing that you see is, as an athlete, you always have to be preparing for something. You're used to that timeline. We start in September to be ready for this tournament, or we start now because in February we really kick it up when the season starts. So especially for a younger player that doesn't have that routine, it's very easy for them to go, next month I'll start my running, or I don't need to hit right now. So I'm curious to see, and I'd like to see how, going forward, if I'm fortunate enough to get everybody coming back, how they've adapted or changed, because there's so much room for creativity in your coaching, and as a coach, that's a great challenge for you.
Yeah, and then also, next week I'm going to be meeting with Mitch from Impact Sports.
Okay.
In the San Bernardino area. He has some batting cages there, and he has little workout sessions that they do there. So I'm going to talk to him and see what's the procedure right now, how many players are allowed.
Sure.
And kind of work something with him and stuff. Because for sure at our campus, our schools are closed. We can't be on the field.
Yeah.
And so at least maybe whether it's 2 or 3 days out of the week, maybe going into his complex and getting some kind of work in, and so whether it's hitting off a tee, or some BP and stuff, or just doing workouts there. And so I'm gonna talk to him, and he, he's a great guy. He's also a former alumni of Eisenhower, and he's great in just helping us out, whatever it is that we need. We used them a lot in the last recent years. Anytime when we had rain, and couldn't be on the field and stuff like that, we were able to get our work in, and so I would just call him up and be like, bring him over and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so, great guy.
Yeah, I didn't know he was an alum. He actually had a shop out in Riverside, and we actually did some business with him for uniforms and things like that before I don't know if they moved or closed or what, but he was out here in Riverside for a while, actually right around the corner from my house.
Oh.
Yeah, he had one, and then they moved out there, and then they opened up back out in that area. I haven't been out there, but I don't get much time to go and shop around. But it's really tough for kids to try to find those different ways. Our facility, we would normally run groups. We would do Mondays on the field at a field here in Riverside, and we'd have anywhere between 35 and 65 guys from 7 all the way up to our high school guys, and we'd break the coaches up and we'd rotate them through, and we'd do nothing but defense, conditioning, defense, agility. And then on either Thursday or Friday, we'd divide them up by age, and we would do everything at the shop, just go through stations. We have a weight corner in there, and so one of our coaches would go through some weight training and some agility stuff there while they were hitting. But now with all this, I've been fortunate because I have some of my college guys back, so I pay them to go up to one of the local parks, and I set them up on an hour basis. So I'm sending guys over there. Hey, you've got, you're here from 8 to 12, and then you're here from 3 to 7. So I'm sending guys over there so they go through their workouts one-on-one, conditioning, running, sprint work, arm strength, and then we handle the hitting. So I've got Jason and I've got John, and actually one of my college guys is there now working with catchers, and so they're doing Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So we just spread everybody out one-on-one. If we do any group work, it's usually in 3 or 4s, and the ones that have come in have either been 2 or 3 brothers, or 2 or 3 brothers and a couple of friends. So it's everybody that's comfortable with each other. So, you just got to kind of improvise and do what you can. But our high school guys, most of them have just been doing one-on-one stuff. I still do some online stuff with guys, but it's still, they need to get out and run and do the hard stuff before they play. That's my biggest fear. Is they're not going to be ready for that quick twitch stuff. Yeah,
injury prevention. That's always big and stuff like that. So definitely.
Yeah, because we have guys that I know that they've been itching to get out there and play, and they're running out to Arizona. And I've asked a lot of them, okay, hitting's great, but that's not very taxing on your body. It's great you've taken some ground balls and maybe you've run a mile here and there, but have you thrown a pitch and had to break right or break left to cover the base? Have you had to make a hard turn at first, going to second? Have you had to change direction on a fly ball? Okay, well, that's where you get hurt.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where you get hurt. So you need to make sure you've done that too. So, yeah, it's interesting to see where all this is going to go. But so kind of a crystal ball type of thing. So if I were to ask you today, and it's not a definite, but where do you see yourself as a coach in 5 years, in 10 years?
Man, that's interesting, because I always tell everybody, like once I made my mind up to teach and to coach at the high school level, I knew that I wanted to be a college coach, and so there was a coach that I spoke to. He used to be the coach at Jurupa Valley High School, and he was a Cal Baptist. He was the head coach at Cal Baptist, and I was kind of picking his brain too and asking him questions about the experience of a collegiate coach.
Is it Kumi?
Yes, Coach Kumi. Yes, Paul Kumi. Yes, definitely. Great guy.
Yeah, he's AD there now.
Is he?
Yeah,
oh, no way.
At J Valley,
Awesome, man. And so I was talking to him, and like I said, just asking him questions about the time and and what does it take, because again, that's like what I'm aiming for later on down the road, And so I didn't realize how much away you are from your family. Whether it's scouting games or just practices or traveling and stuff. And so right now I'm at a stage where I have my daughter, she's entering her junior year in high school, and I have another one who's 10 years old right now, and so I still need to be part of their lives and stuff. There's a lot of key moments that are happening and stuff, and if I was already at the collegiate level, I know I'll be missing out a lot of it. As is right now.
Yeah.
Coaching high school baseball, it's been tough because my daughter plays. She plays softball.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of times where I'm missing out on her games.
Yeah.
And that's tough as it is.
Mm-hmm.
So. But my plan is down the road, once my 2 daughters are off and on and doing their careers and everything, and just me and my wife. I'm kind of hoping my wife kind of gets tired of me and says, hey, you could go back to coaching, or
I called around for you. I got some.
exactly. And so so that's my plan. My plan is to be coach at the collegiate level.
Yeah, it's interesting because you get in a spot where, like you'd said, you thought that was the job you want, and it's not necessarily that you don't want that job. It's just sometimes you're ready for a new challenge.
Exactly.
and something different, and maybe going back to being an assistant or hitting coach or a pitching coach, and just kind of having one defined role as opposed to being the head guy and answering all of the off-campus questions. Exactly. And all the discipline stuff that you got to deal with, and
yes.
Your boy, so it's always fun to just kind of pick guys' brains to see, because for me it's cool because I like to interact with the younger coaches, because I know eventually you guys will be the college coaches, and hopefully I can have a guy for you that I can send. But it's just always interesting because where you are right now, might be the best fit for you, and depending on where you are family wise, and we talked about it with Steve. I was telling you, Steve and I were talking, and 46 years in baseball. And He was talking about how he was going to stay one more year at San Jacinto, but they were going to realign the league. and he was going to have to go to Saracoso up in Ridgecrest. He was going to have to go to COD. He was going to have to go out to to North LA, and he says, I just couldn't take those trips anymore.
Yeah.
And he says, it's fine if it was San Diego, Palomar, San Diego City. He goes, that's an easy drive, but I said, man, I can't even imagine how many games you've sat through in that time. And we were trying to do the math, and he goes, it's over 2,500.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, coaching and just being in the dugout for 2,500 games.
Man, wow, can you imagine that?
Yeah. So, I mean, you put those numbers down, and it really looks like long term, it's going to have to be something that works with just your lifestyle as you go.
Yeah.
So, just to close it out, I try to keep you, I don't want to keep you too long, but what I usually like to do is I'll let you, if you're talking to high school players, doesn't even have to be Eisenhower guys, it can be any high school player watching. And I like this because a lot of times the message is pretty close, from all the high school coaches. If there's something that you could pass on to them that maybe you pass on to your guys that might be different as far as work and practice, or even if it's how you recommend your guys start going through that college recruiting process. Any little tidbit of wisdom you want to give to the high school guys watching? Yeah,
no, definitely, and especially kind of fits what we're going through right now. And because I had this conversation with the seniors that kind of just had their seniors their season be cut short. It's just don't take things for granted. Like I said, baseball's on a timer, and so enjoy every single moment you're on that field. That brotherhood, those experiences that you share and stuff like that, like make everything count, because again, you never know when this game is taken away from you.
Yeah.
And so I know that's one of the conversations I had a lot with with this last group I had and stuff. So just don't take things for granted.
Yeah. That's good advice. And from coming from coaches, it's always good to hear it from different sources. Just because you're Eisenhower's coach doesn't mean you wouldn't help out the guy at Rialto or help out the kid over at King. That's that network that we talked about.
Exactly.
That every coach is there for the right reasons. You just have to be a little patient and understanding that they all have different things going on. But I think every high school, every college coach at their core wants to help that player, that even the guy you cut. I want to help you be successful. I want to see you work hard, come back, and make the team. And I think that's one of the cool things about doing this. We get to showcase you guys and showcase your passion for practice and not just baseball, but for kids. The reason you got into teaching and coaching was because you want to help kids get better, help kids fulfill their dreams, whether it be coaching or academically.
Yeah, and that's the thing with this game is that it's a beautiful game because all the life lessons you learn on that field, whether it's having a comeback or facing this really tough pitcher, and you finally break through and you get that one hit, and you kind of apply that to life and stuff when things are thrown at you, or all of a sudden something catches you off guard and stuff, and you're going through a very difficult moment in your life, and so kind of like those life lessons that you learn throughout the game and stuff, It's also another beautiful thing about this game.
Yeah, no, that's good stuff. So, like I said, I just wanted to thank you again for coming out.
Oh,
I appreciate your time, man. It was good chatting it up. We get that one time a year or maybe a game here and there, and we talk at Joe's thing. But it's always good to hear baseball from another coach and someone that's still active and doing it. And so, like I said, it was really good, and hopefully under different circumstances next year we can chat during the season and talk about how it's going. And it's a different time right now, so I'm glad that we had this chance because normally everybody would be too busy. It'd have to be over the phone or through text or whatever, but it's always cool to be able to sit down and talk baseball with someone. So again, whenever you guys do get playing again, good luck, and hopefully we can come back for part 2.
Oh, definitely. Heck yeah, man. I love it. It's always great talking baseball, man.
Yeah, definitely. We got more to talk about. So, again, guys, I want to thanks for tuning in. I want to thank Angel, our guest from Eisenhower High School. And so until then, which is probably in about 10 minutes, we'll see you again.